Thank you everyone for viewing our practical advice on how to boost employee engagement, business connection. I am Kelly Karpinski. I'm a business representative in, I'm a business representative in economic workforce development at Moraine Park Technical College. And today I have with me Sue Radiger. She is one of our leadership instructors, and actually Sue is not necessarily new to Moraine Park. She has been doing some adjunct work with us, but she is now a full-time leadership instructor. So we welcome Sue to both this Business Connection and to Moraine Park Technical College.
Thank you very much.
All right, so today we'll talk about employee engagement, and Sue, I will let you take it from here.
All right. Well, I think employee engagement has been a big topic for a lot of people as we look at retention of people as well as attraction of people to our organizations. How do you engage people? Because it can't be just about a wage war. It's really got to be about, well, where's the best organization I can go to work for? And of course, you have to have pay and you have to have benefits, but that is not the most important thing. And Gallup does a regular survey with a number of companies across the country. They define engagement as people who are involved in, enthusiastic about, and committed to their work in their workplace. And ultimately, when employees feel engaged, they care about the company and they do their best work to really achieve those company goals. So engagement is just really important when you're looking at how do I get people who really want to be at the company and do their best work, because we really need people right now. Interestingly enough, as of April 2022, Gallup indicated that about 36% of employees in the US are engaged in work. When you look at that globally, interestingly enough, that drops to 20%, which I think is just fascinating. But when you look at employee engagement, it's very much influenced by trust, integrity of the organization, really a two-way commitment. It can't just be the employee who's committed to the organization. The organization has to be committed to them as well. And then communication between the organization and its members, because that is the thing that drives that continued engagement. Okay. Engaged employees are happier. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? When you're happier, you're going to be more productive, and that makes you want to stay. Companies with high employee engagement are 21% more profitable. I mean, that's a real reason. People ask, why engagement? They think, people are just getting a paycheck. Isn't that good enough? But the ultimate, task that we have is really how do we get people to really care about their workplaces and be involved? And when we do that, it makes the company ultimately more profitable. 69% of employees say they would work harder if they're better appreciated. And appreciation is a very important part of engagement. Highly engaged workplaces saw 41% lower absenteeism. And when you think about the number of people that companies are trying to recruit right now, you need every person that's part of your organization to be engaged. You need them to be, at work. You need them to be working as hard as they can. Disengaged employees suffer from greater rates of heart disease and depression, which I think is really interesting. We don't always look at, for instance, the effects of disengagement from a health insurance standpoint, but that's a costly piece of that pie. So today, more than a third of workers are searching actively or casually for a job. That, again, is another reason that you want to be engaging people. Headhunters are contacting people all of the time. And if somebody isn't actively looking and they get a call from a headhunter, there's a possibility they may want to just check into it. And ultimately, what you want people to do is, even if they check into it, you want them to be able to look at, the contrast between their current workplace as a positive in regards to any other workplaces that might be offering a job out there. U.S. employers spend $2.9 million per day looking for replacement workers. That's a lot. So just a crazy amount of money that's being sent. So what does employee engagement look like? It's the positive attitudes and behaviors that are focused on making the workplace better. It's feeling a sense of pride and loyalty for the organization. And then those employees will advocate, with other people to come and work at a place. It's one of those things that's really an important part of becoming an employer of choice, where people want people who are out there advocating, and word of mouth is bringing new people in. It's also thinking of, suggesting, and implementing ways to improve the organization. What you really want are the people who are doing the jobs to be thinking about ways that they can make things better. You're drawing on a deeper commitment from employees by showing the same commitment to them. People really do want to work for an organization they know cares about them. And that makes a big difference. A lot of that comes from as much interaction, communication from management, from supervisors, from peers, to help people feel that sense of commitment, because this is the place they belong. And ultimately, high trust actions from individuals and the organization are consistent with the organization's values. There's nothing worse than if an organization talks about trust, but then people are doing the exact opposite. So trust is really an important part of making sure that you're helping people to be engaged. Oops. So one of the things that's so important, I think, we look at it, from a leadership standpoint, culture is the #1 reason people leave organizations. One of Gallup's biggest discoveries, the manager, the team leader alone counts for 70% of the variance in team engagement. It should be the leader's primary role responsibility. And so there actually are 6 things that leadership needs to attend to when we're driving engagement in our organization. Oops, sorry about that. #1, this goes back with the being consistent in walking the talk. Be a leader of high integrity who's focused on building trust. That is the #1 thing. One of the things that we're seeing in organizations is a real focus on how to build trust between the organization, between employees, helping them to see that the organization really cares and wants to be a great place to work. Showing you honestly care is a compelling reason for people to also care. Everybody wants to work for an organization that cares about them, and having trust as the foundation of a relationship, as you think about it in any relationship, is integral to feeling like someone cares about you. So if there's anything to focus on today, it's going to be, how do we make a more trusting organization and help people to be more trustworthy? #2, make sure employees know and are aligned with what is expected of them. Too often, people don't exactly know what they're expected to do. And one of the things that happens sometimes in leadership is that, we lead other people the way we want to be led. And we don't necessarily connect well enough to understand when we have different people and different expectations and different wants and needs, to really understand that and make sure that there's clarity. Discussion with an employee should include finding out what the employee wants. How do they see their jobs? What tools or training they might need, including, removing organizational obstacles that can inhibit the employee's performance. Too often, there are situations within an organization that, maybe the leader can help to remove to help the person be more successful. Sometimes those are things like connecting them to the right resources within the organization, being an advocate for the employee within the organization when they're trying to get things done, or trying to build trust or trying to complete the items that they need to for their position. So it's really important that, again, the leader is really engaged in involving and understanding the employee so that the employee understands what's expected of them, but also so they can be successful. Number 3, get to know your employees, their career aspirations. Work with them on developing a plan on how to progress. The number one reason people give for a job change is career growth opportunities. 33% are bored, and 87% of millennials consider development in their job important. And you know, here's the thing about that. Not only does that create greater engagement from an employee standpoint, but makes your overall organization healthier. When we are doing succession planning, when we are developing the internal resources of our people to be able to move them into different positions, that can't be something that we're protecting people, you know, from being able to do when we're looking holistically at an organization. We have to consider the overall organization as well as our areas. And as people are doing that across the organization, when we have openings, we can also draw from those talent pools. So it's really important for people to have those growth opportunities. It helps to create some more variation and helps them to feel like they're progressing, which is something that everybody wants to have. Number 4, acknowledge and recognize employees for their achievements and contributions while making sure you give credit where credit is due. So I think there's 2 items there. First of all, acknowledging and recognizing employees for their achievements is a big thing. You want to make sure that you're doing that in a way that is special to that person. Some people like public recognition, other people do not. Some people just want to have somebody say, hey, nice job on that, or thank you for what you do. But it's important to have that individualized for each person. Also, making sure we give credit where credit is due. Too often what will happen is, you know, a person works very hard to be able to achieve something or come up with a new idea, and then a leader forgets to recognize them, especially in situations that involve other leadership, so that people can see that. Remember that 37% of people cite recognition as the most important part of job support. And again, recognition can merely be thank you for all you do. Number 5, ensure there is regular, honest, and transparent communication with employees. Strong internal communication focused on the organization's performance, alignment with the company vision and goals, and how the employee's performance contributes to the organization's performance is highly important. And it helps people to link what they're doing to the success of the organization as a whole. Remember that communicate is really an important rule to follow when it comes to communication. For some reason, we always think that we're over communicating, and that really isn't ever the case. So helping people to understand where things are going and why we're doing things we are doing in an organization is so important to helping them to stay engaged. Otherwise, they feel like why are they there? You know, how does what I do make a difference? And number 6, leaders must be aware of employee work-life balance. In order to stay on the job, employees need to have balance between work and their personal lives. Relationships in the workplace are one of the most important predictors of employee engagement. Crazy enough as that is, that's one of the top questions that's asked on Gallup's engagement survey is, do you have a best friend at work? And sometimes people think that's a silly question to ask, but the more relationships that people have, the less chance that they're going to want to leave an organization. There's that sense of I belong here. And one of the best compliments I have at times when I talk to people about the organizations and why they stay at them is because it feels like a family. So that family atmosphere is based upon relationships. So important. So that is all that I have.
Well, thank you so much, Sue. Does anybody who's on the call have any questions for Sue on what she just talked about, or any other questions you might have regarding employee engagement? Okay. I do have one, Sue.
Yeah.
We were actually talking beforehand, and you said a lot of people sometimes ask, what if you have this combination of an unmotivated employee along with the feeling of being unengaged at work?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that? What if there's a little bit of struggle there?
Yeah. Well, I think that, number one, the supervisor has to connect with that person to find out what's going on. If something's changed, for instance, and that person used to be more engaged or more motivated and something's changed, that's a red flag to find out what is really going on. Are they okay? Is there anything else going on in their lives that they maybe need some additional support or resources for? Certainly, you don't have to go into detail on that with somebody if they don't want to, but many's the times where I've been able to talk with people and find out they really did need some additional resources or support. I think that once you find those kinds of things out and you let a person know that you're noticing that they don't seem like they're happy, that there can be some discussion about that. Like, what is that? How can we address that? How can we make it better for them? So those things are, I think, an important part of that. And then talking about job expectations with people, that, again, gets into, do they clearly understand what's expected? If they do and they're not performing, then there's got to be some additional conversation with people about how do we get you in performing. But if people aren't, ultimately, that's, something you have to consider when you're looking at if the person is a good fit within the organization. But the first place to start is really find out what's going on with somebody. What do they think about their job? What do they need to do their job better? Those kinds of questions that are all about engaging with an employee around their performance. So that's an important thing. I mean, ultimately, like Simon Sinek has a very good video on this called Motivating the Unmotivated. And he really goes into a discussion too about the fact that you have to find out what's going on with somebody. And if ultimately somebody's not a good fit, you're the person that hired them, or you may be the person who's didn't originally hire them, but they are in your organization, and that becomes a performance issue. But the first step is to really try and engage people.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, Sue does all types of leadership training for us. Most recently, she was Vice President of Human Resources at Mid-States Aluminum in Fond du Lac. So she has a lot of experience at all levels of an organization. So if you're interested in training and employee engagement for, say, your management team or any other type of training, please either contact me, Kelly Karpinski, or my cohort, Mindy Boynton, and let us know, what you might need or what some of your challenges may be, and we can help you out. Also, for our next presentation, just to let everybody know what is happening in June, on June 15th, we'll be having our next business connection on process mapping techniques. So Joanne Giese-Kent is a Moraine Park Technical College business analyst program instructor, and she will be providing the purpose and advantages of using these techniques. We've asked her to do that specifically in the human resource area, but also just in other organizational processes. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please join us at the same time, 10 a.m. on June 15th. And again, we will be recording the session for viewing later on as well. Thank you very much for your time today, Sue. I appreciate it. That ends our business connection for May.